All right, so earlier today I put out Panthers versus Lightning playoff preview, and I figured, what the hell, let's do two. So, Toronto versus Ottawa. Now, best thing for Toronto is that Ottawa is not Boston, right? Okay, everybody knows Toronto's history. This is, I believe, only the fourth time ever they've actually won the division. And what are they going to do with all that capital? That remains to be seen. Now, I know the joke is usually that the Leafs are going to be a first round exit. And of course, here you've got Ottawa, basically the new kid on the block, right? And they're led by Brady Tkachuk, who just watched his brother win a cup last season. So you got to figure Ottawa's motivation is going to be pretty sky high. Now, Ottawa won all three games this season, and I'm not somebody who puts a lot of stock into the regular season games. Panthers lost to the Bruins every game last year in the regular season, and then you see what happened in the playoffs. And for many years, the Panthers would lose to Tampa, or the Panthers would beat Tampa at the end of the season, only to lose to them in the playoffs. But what I will say is that Ottawa has kept Toronto's offense at bay all three games. Will that translate to the playoffs? It might. It could, because from the looks of things, it looked like those games look like more like playoff games than a run and gun type of thing. Now, Toronto has gotten better in terms of become a little bit more physical. They obviously saw the style that the Panthers were playing and knew that they were going to have to up their game a little bit if they wanted to get past Florida at some point in the playoffs. Now, when you think about Toronto, obviously they've got the big guns, right? Marner, Nylander, Matthews. And Matthews didn't even have the big year this year. And of course, you still got John Tavares. When as a Panther fan, not my friend, not my fan. Not my fan. Yeah, either way, I'm sure we don't like each other. In terms of Ottawa, what I can say about Ottawa is they've got guys. And when I mean they've got guys, they've just got a plethora of guys that you would just consider solid to good players to maybe very good. There's nobody that really stands out obscenely. You've got Kachuk, and then the rest of the guys. I mean, you've only got Kachuk at 29 goals, and only two more guys even got over 20 goals. You got Stutzel, Batherson, Sanderson, Claude Giroux is still hanging around, Dylan Cousins, Zetterlund, Pinto, Amadio. The list goes on. Gaudette. You've got a ton of guys on Ottawa that are in like that 15 goal range. Now, when the playoff series happens, it's basically going to be which style are we going to get to? Which team style is going to win out? Toronto can obviously score some goals, but their goal differential isn't all that fantastic this year. Goaltending. Goaltending, to me, is going to be the big one here. Now, normally you would say, well, Ullmark is one of the better goalies in the NHL, but is he really? His numbers have not been bad this year. They've been okay-ish, maybe a little bit better than okay, but nothing spectacular. He looked kind of a little bit like some of Bobrovsky's years when he wasn't quite playing up to par. So Ullmark's been good, but not fantastic, except for the fact that I think Ottawa has something like 10 shutouts this year. Flip to the other page, and you've got Anthony Stolarz playing for the Leafs right now, who's got 3 shutouts in his last 4 games. And when he played the Panthers, and we watched him about last week, whenever it was, he was practically a brick wall. I'm not going to sit here and say that he scares me, but every so often a goalie does just develop a little bit late. And if you look at Stolarz's numbers over the course of his career, he has progressively gotten better to the point now where if he had played with these numbers and gotten 50 starts, you'd be looking at a possible Vezina for him. He's really turned his career around. When he came in with Florida last year, the beginning, he was okay, but he had some serious rebound control issues. Whether it was Talus or Luongo that worked with him, doesn't matter. The rest is history. His goals against has barely been over 2, and his save percentage is .925-ish. So when you get a guy like that coming into the playoffs, coupled with a team in Toronto that can score, Ottawa has their work cut out for them. Now, I went through some of the stats. I'm not going to go crazy with stats. But what I was looking for was there anything that sticks out to me? Where's the statistic that I say maybe Ottawa can have an advantage here? And what I did find was in the power play. Now, their power play percentage is not all that fantastic. I believe 23.4, but they're actually third in the league in power play goals. Detroit and Winnipeg are tied at 63, and then Ottawa has 61, but their power play percentage is significantly lower than the top five teams. Detroit's 27.9. Winnipeg is just a hair under 30. The Devils have 28. The Lightning have 26. And there's Ottawa in the middle of them at 23.4 with 61 goals, which tells me Ottawa is drawing a lot of power plays. They're drawing a lot of penalties. So I do believe that the refs could play a pretty big part in this series. Ottawa, when we've seen them, at least when they've played the Panthers, they do like to play a heavyish style. And the fact that they've got guys really spread out throughout the lineup that can maybe take advantage of that and put the puck in the back of the net could give Toronto a little bit of trouble. Toronto's obviously going to be a little bit top heavy. Now, they're not as top heavy as they've been in the past. The bottom six is a little bit better than it has been, but they still are going to need Marner, Nylander, and Matthews to do the bulk of things, and Nyes. They're going to need those guys, and most teams do. But if Ottawa can clamp down on those top two lines, their depth scoring might give Toronto a little bit of trouble. But back to the goaltending. The other part to that with Ullmark and Stolarz. The Stolarz has only had the one playoff game. He was in the Stanley Cup final game last year when the Panthers were getting waxed right before we almost got reverse swept. Now, Ullmark has been in the playoffs a few times. He's had a few opportunities, and he's gone from bad to meh to worse. It's not been good. And I know that there was the one time he might have been injured, but he's not exhibited an escalation in his game when it's gotten to the playoffs. It's kind of gotten worse. Throw in the fact that Toronto has home ice. I think you can see where I'm going with this. I think Toronto's going to get it in 6. If I'm leaning towards, would that be 7 or would it be 5? I think I'd lean towards 5. Stolarz is playing out of his mind right now. Ullmark has been decent this season in terms of the regular season, but has not been good in the playoffs. And then the last thing is obviously experience. Ottawa's new to this whole thing. I know Brady's got the whole living vicariously through his brother, but that's not how this works. Toronto's guys, even though they haven't but won the one series, Ottawa's not Boston. I think Toronto's going to get out of the first round this year. I think with Stolarz and the defensive additions, they've got OEL now. I don't know how much Nick Cousins is playing for Ottawa. I don't know how much of a factor of the fact that Lorentz is going to be on the ice is going to play into that as well. So they've got not just the experience of the regular Nylander, Marner, Matthews, Nyes that have been making it to the playoffs, but now they've got guys that have won a cup and been on a cup-winning team on that team. And that should put them over the hump against Ottawa in the first round. So, sorry to disappoint all those of you who would like me to pick Toronto to get waxed out of the first round again. I don't think it's going to happen. Ottawa's got a good, solid team. I'm not exactly sold that Ullmark is going to be the final straw for them. I'm not, he's done well. I think it was like 2-6-7. So he's not been bad, but his playoff performances have been lacking almost every time he's been on the ice. And that's a problem. If you're going to be Ottawa, you're going to be trying to, 2-1, 3-2, you're not going to outscore teams 7-6. And that's, I guess, the last thing. If any one of these games gets into a pissing contest and a scoring match, what's the word I'm looking for? If it goes run and gun, Toronto has the guys that can play that. Where Ottawa, they made the playoffs, good shape. They got the 7th seed. Could they be a top 3 team in the division next year? Maybe. It's possible. Right? You just don't know what's going to happen with Florida. If Florida goes on another long run, maybe even wins another cup, they might just take half the season off next year because they're going to be so exhausted. So Ottawa's kind of right there. They weren't even that far behind Florida this year. So Toronto wins 6. I don't think it's going to go 7. And I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think Ottawa's going to have enough pride to at least make it exactly 5, at least 5, but probably Toronto in 6. So that's it. Short and sweet for this one. I appreciate all the support. I'm going to do the, tomorrow I'm going to do the Metro. I'm going to do the 2 videos for the Metro series previews. And then I'm going to have, 1 series preview for just the Western Conference team. So that way we don't have to have another 4 solid videos. I'll just do all 4 series in one video. So, all right, get this up and out to you. I will see you tonight. We're going to be streaming Montreal tonight. Come on, Canadians. I know there's a lot of people, I didn't even realize this angle. A lot of people not wanting Montreal to win and preferring Columbus to win because of the whole Canada versus U.S. thing. I grasp that. And the whole Johnny Gaudreau thing. Again, I understand that. But from a selfish point of view, I already wrote the Game 1 intro to the Panthers playoff game. I don't want to have to do a rewrite. So Montreal needs to win. At least they just need a point. I don't want to see them choke this up. All right. We'll see you tonight.